And now a conversation with Patriots defensive lineman Lawrence Guy. Started out by just kind of picking his brain because he's seen so much in his career. He's played for a bunch of different organizations, sometimes going through seasons with multiple teams, so being traded in the midst. So, Lawrence, what was this season like for you with all the stuff that you had to go through just to play football?
It's difficult. And if you hear somebody say it was not difficult, they're not telling you the truth. And they want to keep it all cookies and cream. It was a difficult season, mentally and physically for everybody. Everybody got a little bit more personal. Everybody got to get a little bit on the personal side of your home base and how you live to how you're playing football. You had to work out when everything was closed. I ran in a parking lot. We literally had to measure off 100 yards in a parking lot. That was the only way I could do my bigger conditioning because all the parks were closed. No place was open to do certain things, and you wanted to be safe. So that aspect of it was just challenging coming in, knowing that you wasn't able to be on the field as much, depending on what state you were in. So to be on the field as much, you wasn't able to compete as much. So coming into the season, understanding that and starting over from a aspect of when rookies come in, new players come in, they got that mini camp and OTAs and all these workouts to adjust to the playing style and the comfortability you have with your brother next to you. And now you learn that with 2 weeks to go, 3 weeks to go into the season. So that's the most challenging thing. You'll see certain teams struggle at the beginning of the year, got better. Or you see the vice versa, teams flourish in the beginning of the year and it started going downhill. But it was a challenging season. But I believe everybody has grown as a man, as a person, as a woman, as individuals in an organization have all grown to be better people because you now respect the jobs that people are doing, the risk that people are putting on their family to come support their family by the jobs that they're doing. The little things that you used to ignore now put the light on. Like, I can't believe you're doing this for us. This is amazing. And you get to have those conversations with certain employees, certain players, and to see what their struggles are during their 2020 year of how they had to cope with staying at home and coming in and getting tested every day.
Now that the entire season is in the books for the Patriots, was it worth it for you to go through everything to make sure that you could play and that your teammates could be on the field every week?
Yeah, I had a conversation with my wife many times. We were going, and she was like, do you want to play this year? And the love for the game I had was a lot, but we had to have a conversation about the safety, safety of our kids, the safety of what's going on. So that was the aspect I think everybody had. And you're hoping that the organization, that the NFL and NFLPA are trying to do their best to keep you guys safe. And once we had that and we started getting through the season, we went through the shutdown and everything like that, you understand, feel like, is it worth it? Was it worth it to play? I'm proud that I got to play in this season, that as we continue to play the game that we, from kids, watch on TV, that we simulated in the playground. We're playing a kid's game for a profession, but having the opportunity to continue to play, and all those players that wish they were playing but don't have the opportunity, you're playing for them, So I'm proud that I'm able to do it. I'm proud of all my teammates and everybody in the league that did what they had to do to continue to play the game that they love, and continue to do it by keeping everybody safe. So I'm honored to do it. Like I played in the lockout season, I was honored to do all that, to experience it. But I feel like that is all you can do is learn from that season and take out how you're going to be a better player for the following season. If you're telling me you didn't become a better person from the 2020 season, then you didn't really accomplish anything.
Patriots defensive lineman Lawrence Guy with some words of wisdom here after hours on CBS Sports Radio. And with the season in the books, it was obviously a tougher one, a season of transition for the Patriots. And Bill Belichick talked a couple different times about how the organization had kind of sold out for the last 5 years, and that now some of the business aspects of the game had caught up with the franchise. And then there were so many opt-outs, the Patriots surprisingly having more than any other franchise. So specific to the Patriots now, Lawrence, how different was this year than what you've become used to over the course of your time in New England?
You're right. It was challenging. You know, you're used to winning all of these games, you're used to playing with certain players. But you have to understand, the NFL's NFL. I look at, like, when people that opted out, I respect what they did with their family. It takes a certain person and to sit there and be like, you know what? I'm going to do this for my family, not knowing if they're able to come back the next following year. Because that's just the honest truth of it. When you sit out, there's other players that have the opportunity to flourish, to build a name for themselves. So you also have that risk of saying, hey, you know what? I might not be back next year. This team might not want me. They might find my replacement by the time you are out. But so you have to respect that aspect of it, because that has to go through all thinking of it. But you have to understand, like, players come and go. You know, you get traded, you get released, you get hired on another team. So playing with the team that we had, you just have to consistently be proud of what you're accomplishing, with the struggles that what we were going through, you know. It wasn't a high point of the season. We had ups and we had downs. We had losses. We had games that were close. It didn't turn out to the way we wanted it to be. We wanted to go to the playoffs. We didn't make it to the playoffs. That's on us as play. And that's on the coaches, on the players, that's on everybody that participated in the game. You can't take away that from anybody. But only thing you can do is like, hey, is it a little weird? Yeah. We didn't win as much. But the NFL is like that. Not every team is going to win all these games. You look back in the early part of the NFL, Green Bay was dominating for years, world championships, the first Super Bowls, all that. Then you see them go down. The Cowboys, America's team, they was always on a high. Then they have some down years. You're going to have some down years. You're going to have some up years. And it's not about the down years that matter. It's about what you learn from those down years so you get better the following year. You know, look at Cleveland. Cleveland has been down for so many different years, and now they're coming back up because they took those years like, we need to get better, and we need to understand that we got to learn from these seasons, and that's what they did. It took a while, but every single year they didn't come in like, oh, we're going to be as bad as we were the year before. No, they're going to be like, we're going to be as good as we can this year so we don't have another bad year. And that's how I feel like as an organization, as a team, where we went in there this year, like, we understand that we're losing games, but we can't lose games to the point where we're throwing in the towel. And I believe after the San Francisco game, where we really we didn't do good, period. We really just lost that game, that we sat in the next day meetings and like, we cannot have another game like that again.
So, Lawrence, the knee-jerk reaction is that Bill Belichick can't coach, and the last 20 years was smoke and mirrors. And look, without Tom Brady, Belichick is nothing. You have worked with the man now for 4 seasons. What's your reaction when you hear that?
Bill Belichick ain't nothing without Tom Brady. What about the years before Tom Brady? What about what he was able to do with certain other players than Tom? You know, Tom is the GOAT. We understand that. You got to respect it. What they were able to do in 20 years together is impressive, right? But you also have to look out the other players other than Tom, how they improved. You know, some people take him like, yeah, I got better. Some people are like, oh, I really did not like it. But he has more success stories than he does other stories. He gives people opportunities that really don't get opportunities in any other team. But I've seen it firsthand. It's like, hey, you get the opportunity that if you was on this team, I promise you wouldn't get it, but you get it here because he believes in the work ethic. He believes in what you put on the field is your ability, not how high draft you were or how much we paid you. none of that ever matters. It's a matter about what you can bring to the locker room, bring to your team, and that you're a selfless player, and that's what he's good at. So when everybody says, well, Bill ain't nothing without Tom, but what about all the other players that have came during this 20 years that have gotten better under the coaching of Bill? There's so many players that have gotten better. Me, myself, gotten better because he has pushed me to a standard that I was like, this is the level of standard that we have, and we want to keep it there. And we're going to get better with you or without you, but we're going to bring you along, and hopefully you accept that and put your pride aside and continue to get better.
Is there any part of you, Lawrence, that is surprised that Tom Brady is about to play in another Super Bowl?
Nope. When Tom was in the NFC Championship, I was like, man, I really hope that Tom pulls this out. And once he was able to go, I'm like, hey, I really hope Tom's going to win this game. Because he has to see the legacy that he's leaving. It's something special that's going to make everybody else try to strive to be better than him or be as equal to him. So it's one of those things like, hey, I hope he wins. I hope he continues to stack up those rings, continue to change people's lives in the locker room and lead by example, which he does. So it wasn't surprising. You know, it would have been cool to play against him. You talking about a headline. Bill Belichick against Tom Brady. Who's going to win the Super Bowl? That would have been the best story of everybody's career.
Well, considering that Brady's not retiring till he's 80, there's still a possibility that could happen, Lawrence.
There is. I think we play Tampa next year. The Patriots play Tampa next year, I believe, on the schedule.
All right, I'm going to have to check that out. You're a member of the Patriots all-decade team. You've been with the team now for 4 years, and I get the nature of the beast in the NFL. You're a free agent to be. Do you want to stay in New England?
You know, I'd love to be back, but I understand what's going on in the NFL. The free agency is free agency, you know. It's one of those things that as players we fought for to have throughout previous lockouts and previous CBA negotiations. You couldn't have told me like 4 or 5 years ago I was going to end up with the Patriots. I had no idea. But that's the thing about free agency. Teams that are interested in you now want to have you on the team for leadership. Teams that you thought were going to keep you, let you go. And I've seen it so many times. You're like, oh, how couldn't they sign that player back? Half of the time it's a business. It's not personal. You take it as a business. So it would be great to be back. But I also understand if I'm not going to be heartbroken or anything like that because I understand the business side of it. I'm still going to have my roots that are in New England with the organizations I work with there, with my foundation, with the Lord God Family Foundation. I'm still going to have that. I'm going to continue that regardless because that's who we are, me and my wife are as people. So it's one of those things that would be great to be back with. If I'm not, I understand it.
It's After Hours here on CBS Sports Radio. I'm glad you brought that up. I was going there next. This has certainly been a challenging year for American families. So many people who've lost jobs, so many people who find themselves in different financial hardships or facing choices, really difficult choices about putting food on the table. How have you seen the need grow? And also, how have you seen your foundation kind of step up to help meet needs in this last year?
You know, the need has grown because of the nature. Like you said, COVID hit. A lot of people have lost the ability to go to work. They got sick. They got laid off. A lot of stuff like that. So when you see that and hear it, it has to hit home, you know. A lot of people had to go and stay at home. They never had to stay at home, so they had to deal with the mental side of being at home all the time, being around it. By their significant other, their family, people they didn't like, people they did like, and all that. But like with the organization, we provided like resources and opportunities for financially disadvantaged families, and also families that needed a little extra help from situations where, like I said, they couldn't put food on the table. So I'm like, well, I'm in a position in life where I could give a certain amount. Doing charity work since I was in high school. I've been doing a Thanksgiving give back since I was a freshman in high school. We've been doing it, and it gets bigger every single year. As I grow, more opportunities happen for me to help out the community. saying that like we did Christmas events, we did back to school events. It wasn't just Thanksgiving, it wasn't just Christmas, it wasn't just certain things. We actually got to grow as leaders in the community, and the organization that we started, the foundation that we started helped us put a name to it so people can look forward to that. But everybody has a struggle in life. If it's mentally, financially, or if it's jumping around from home to home trying to find somewhere to live. Everybody has something. My wife does a lot of work with human trafficking. There's always something going on. But being able to put yourself out there personally and to put yourself out there with resources to help another person is the only way that you can be better in life. And in my mind, I look at it like, why have all the resources and have the platform not to help out another human being? Because you want to be that person that is struggling a little bit, for someone to look at you and like, hey, let me help you out. Not let me give you a handout. Let me help you out so you can improve. Let me give you some resources. There's multiple girls we do with human trafficking got scholarships that never thought they were going to get scholarships to certain universities. We've done journals for organizations where we talk to them once a month or once every other month to pick their brain. And every time you hear it, like, hey, I can't believe that you took time out your life to come talk to me. I'm like, no, I can't believe that you took time out your life to write down your feelings and actually had the courage to speak about it. Because everybody has an accomplishment that we could achieve by helping out another human being. It's amazing because you can do anything you want to when you put your mind to it. And that's just going to be a domino effect for the previous person that you helped to help somebody else down the line 10 to 15 years when they see somebody else is struggling a little bit.
And I don't know that it's ever been more required than it has been over the last 12 months. So you can find the website and opportunities to pitch in, LawrenceGuyFoundation.org. He and his wife, Andrea, established that foundation going back to 2019 at the perfect timing, Lawrence. And you just wrapped up your 10th NFL season. Congratulations on that. We'll see what happens moving forward, but it's been great to catch a couple of minutes with you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.